Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's bright and early on a Saturday morning. It's raining here in New York City. It's gonna be a nice lazy morning because I got a lot done with my plants yesterday. In today's video, I'm gonna walk you through the collection. I'm gonna show you what's going on with my orchids, and I'm gonna show you everything that's been in bloom for the month of September. So this is a time where things start slowing down, but I still get some blooms. I still get hybrids. So I'm going to walk you shelf by shelf and show you what I did. So it was my goal to flush all of my shelves this week. I was going to do one shelf at a time, and I fell behind and I ended up doing everything yesterday. Now, as a part of that, I had to treat my Hoya collection because I noticed mealybugs on them. So I use systemic granules in their mix so that it could be absorbed in the roots and, in short, kill off those mealybugs. So hopefully it helps. I treated everything. Any of my orchids, any of my Hoyas, the Hoyas were treated with the systemic granules, but anything else, I just sprayed everything down, made sure that there were no spider mites on them. I also trellised some of my Hoya seedlings. They're starting to get bigger, so it just feels so nice to get everything organized. Gosh, guys, I spent maybe 7 or 8 hours on my collection yesterday, but I'm thankful I got it done. And when I flush the orchids, I end up wiping down the shelves, getting any spent flowers off. So it feels nice to get it all done. It just feels so clean. And when I sprayed off the leaves, it just feels so, it feels good because I know that the collection is happy and I know that I'm heading into fall on the right foot. I also changed the lights as I mentioned from my last video, so I turned it down an hour. So everything is set up for success. By the way, this is my largest dendrobium. This is Dendrobium Gatton Sunray. It is almost hitting the ceiling. It is just, I don't even know what to do with it. Hopefully I get blooms in the spring. Anyway, it just feels so good to get everything done. This one is my Tetraspis C1 by Mr. Huang. I'm quite happy with the collection. This is the other shelf that I flushed yesterday. I have a couple of spikes on some of my dendrobiums. That one is my Dendrobium New Hope Mini spiking. And then, of course, I have some hybrids that are blooming. I have another Cattleya that's about to bloom soon, but it's not really the Cattleyas that are in bud as much. I would say the dendrobiums are mostly in bud right now, and I typically get more blooms on my den files this time of year. With that said, the my dendrobiums are the biggest pest magnets for me, so I had to wipe everything down. This one over here is my BLC Prada Green Deluxe that's about to bloom. It blooms once a year for me. It's a very pretty orchid. So as I was saying, I fell behind on flushing the orchids. I was going to do one shelf every single day, and then I only did one on Monday, one on Thursday, and then yesterday I had so much to go, but I didn't want to deal with it all week, so I just hunkered down and did everything at once. So I was up until late getting it done, but I'm happy that it's all completely finally done. Um, I went through some of my orchids and I know that some of them need to get repotted soon, but I'm going to wait. Let me show you some of what the orchids look like. So I have some with growths that are growing down. I'm going to just try to train the growth up slowly. This is my Prada Green Deluxe. I'm not going to touch it until it's already bloomed, but I really don't want to touch anything until the spring. You can repot something like this when it's done blooming, but I really don't want to deal with it. I promise in the spring I will finally be caught up. Zoe's still eating some things. She does have cat grass now, but what can you do? Oh well, enough about that. Let me start showing you the blooms that I had for the month. So this is an unregistered hybrid that I got from Sunset Valley Orchids about 2 years ago. It is so beautiful. It is a first time bloomer for me, so I was stoked to have 4 flowers. Usually when you get a first time bloom, sometimes you get one, maybe 2 flowers. This one gave me 4. This was highly fragrant. It smelled like satsuma. It was quite strong. I was very, very happy with it. I'm going to repot it in the spring. Clearly, I put it in a pot that was too shallow. Roots are growing out of it, but this is definitely a keeper. I find it to be very, very pretty. I like these yellows, and anything with fragrance that's very strong is a keeper in my collection. So I really like this one. Very, very cute, very nice. It's always fun to see a first time bloomer because you don't really know what you're going to get. And sometimes you forget about these. You're like, what was this again? The next orchid in bloom is a very vigorous one. This one is the BLC Hawaiian Leopard Mei-Ling. Another very pretty one. This is the third time that this orchid blooms for me. The first two times that it opened kind of funky. So the first few blooms weren't as pretty. The second set of blooms were better, but not perfect. And now the third time it's blooming, it's even better. So I find that it takes time for the form and the shape on the flowers to get nice. But this is so pretty. It's a color changer. The lip is gorgeous. The fragrance is quite strong. It reminds me of the Wine Leopard, which I do have as well, which is a parent to this orchid. But I love the spots. I love the velvet color on the lip, which is also similar to the Wine Leopard parent. And the flowers are quite big. I also like that the bloom count has increased on this. I saw this listed on Carmela Orchids if you're looking for this one. Very, very pretty and highly recommended. The next orchid in bloom is the Phalaenopsis Equestris coerulea. This one blooms for me once a year. I ended up repotting this last December. I remember making a video for you guys. It was in semi-hydro. I wanted to get it out of the setup and I saw new roots pushing. So I went ahead and put it in mostly sphagnum moss and I topped it off with some bark. And I'm really happy to see this bloom. Now it's been blooming already for a month and I didn't record it when it first started. So some of the flowers were spent by the time I recorded this. But it's okay. I find that this branches off and blooms for several months. That spike can keep growing, giving new blooms. Very, very pretty. No fragrance on this species. It's just beautiful. Again, blooms once a year for me. Double spikes normally. And yes, there's a drainage hole on this. A lot of people ask me about this pot. There's a big old drainage hole in the bottom. Love this orchid. Very, very beautiful. Very dainty. So pretty. The next orchid in bloom is my dendrobium Enobi purple. This blooms for me about twice a year. Usually this time of year I get the most blooms. This time around I didn't get as many spikes as in the past. I repotted it last spring, so I was expecting more by now. But either way, this is a very pretty one. I find it easy to grow, and then old canes usually rebloom with spikes again. So unlike some dendrobiums, this one reblooms and the show is very, very nice. Now, it has spikes on that are still starting while it already has blooms. So it's not going to be the best show because it's just going to be blooming on a delay with some of those spikes that are starting right now, but that's okay. I find it so beautiful. No fragrance on it, but very vigorous. But with that said, I find that my dunfowls are spider mite magnets, so I had to treat this. And I mean, it's a small price to pay for such a pretty orchid. Okay, the next orchid in bloom is my Phalaenopsis LD's Bear King. I did a short video with this yesterday. Gosh, this is one of my most popular videos. I was repotting this. I got this as a seedling and it's just grown every single year. And so many people ask me about sphagnum moss, and a lot of people actually fight me in the comments saying that sphagnum moss doesn't work for them. And I think media is very personal. So what works for me may not work for you, but I find that sphagnum moss works well in my environment if the pot is small enough. Something like this that's humongous, I think I added some coconut husk in here to add more aeration, but anything under, say, a 5-inch pot, usually I can get away with sphagnum moss and it grows really well. And this orchid is a testament to that media in my environment. I just love it. It smells so good. The next orchid in bloom is the BLC Pauwela Spots. This one is a very reliable bloomer for me, but this time around, I repotted it in the spring. It was slow to start blooming again. As expected, whenever you repot something, it sets it back a little. But the growth and the spike were so big that they kind of toppled over. So I had to stake the new growth so that it didn't fall over, because it was very top heavy, and then the spike was also top heavy. This is a first for this orchid. So I'll keep an eye on it next time. Literally, that growth was so heavy that it fell over, and it was weird to see. Either way, this is a very nice orchid, smells really good. One of my favorite hybrids, blooms 4 to 5 times per year when you don't disturb the root system, but gosh, I just find it so beautiful. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this brief update, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, everyone.